Day 4 of on-field action from training camp, Miami Dolphins fans. How are we doing today? It is Ben Morgan of the Fins Up Network. Day 4 of on-field action, but actually day 1 of us not really having to worry about, what's Tua's participation level going to be today? Because yes, first day of training camp practice where Tua has already signed that contract extension. So all of those worries have been put to rest. On top of that, it was actually the first day that fans were allowed to be in attendance as well. We're going to get into all of today's news with the players, with the action in a second. We actually have quite a few highlight videos that we are going to be adding to this video as well before we jump into all of that as well. Gotta hear from you first. If you haven't gotten subscribed yet, make sure you are doing so. We will be back with a training camp practice report after every single practice that is at least available to the media. And your job for today in the comments. Your thoughts on the day, your thoughts on the highlight videos, anything that happened from today's action, go ahead, drop your thoughts in the comments. But let's start things off right away with that player news, that action from today. Like I said, we got some videos. We're going to kick things off right away with a Tua to Jaylen Waddle video. And I'm going to set this one up a little bit because what I like about this particular video is it's showing some of that stuff that Tua was able to work on this offseason. Now, it's practice. You can't hit the quarterback. It's a fairly routine play, but at least it's a small example of what Tua was trying to kind of accomplish here this offseason by trimming some of that weight, being a little bit more elusive, being able to escape, creating off script. You'll see it here on the throw that ends up going for a touchdown to Jaylen Waddle. Let me make sure I have the right video here for you. Right, and Tua's in shotgun. Waddle is going to end up coming open to the right of your screen here as he steps up, hits Waddle in stride for a touchdown. Like I said, fairly pedestrian type of play, but at the end of the day, that's exactly what we want to see, is that kind of evolution of Tua in this Dolphins offense, and that's ability to make those off-script plays. The next video actually is Tua hitting Braylon Sanders for a touchdown in some work against Kader Kohu. It's a beautiful play. Nice throw, nice catch. The one thing that gets me is it still kind of got that Tua to Tyreek fade kind of feel to it. I'll let you decide for yourself how you end up feeling about this one. Once again, give me a second. Make sure I got the right video. All right, Braylon Sanders is up to your top left. You're going to have Tua in shotgun here taking the snap. Like I said, perfect ball placement, beautiful catch. But at the end of the day, that's one that we've all kind of been asking to maybe get scrapped from the playbook. Regardless if the result is there, we will take it. I got one more video in of the 5 I think that I'm doing in a row here, and this one is Tua Tagovailoa and Achane essentially reliving that no-look touchdown that he had against the Broncos from last year. Once again, we will pull that one up on the screen. Feels a little bit different than that Bronco one, but at the end of the day, still a very similar feel to it. Obviously, you got Tua here in shotgun. Achane is the one lined up next to him. Didn't have anyone coming behind him this time. Agba unable to bat that ball down. Oops, sorry about that. Unable to bat that ball down, and then Tua just ends up flicking it in there for Achane, who takes it to the house, at least in a practice setting. Regardless, that is a beautiful play. I loved that play against the Denver Broncos last year. Like I said, not an exact carbon copy, but regardless, you got the Dolphins offense out there just really showing, you know what, we're going to try to beat you any which way possible. All right, so we got those 3 taken care of. Let's move on to some other positions as well. Jeff Wilson was donning the team's orange jersey today. Had a nice carry actually on the first play of team drills. Sprung by a block by Patrick Paul as well. So that's obviously every single Patrick Paul note that we can get is great. And I've said this before, I don't want to see Patrick Paul on the field in 2024. If we have to, at least we're getting some positives from him in this sense during these training camp practices. I just want Teron Armstead to be healthy. Jeff Wilson also mentioned actually during his media availability that he's been dropping some weight, trying to get a little bit faster, quicker in this zone blocking scheme. Regardless, he's had a very nice offseason now that there's been a little bit of a fire lit underneath him. Raheem Mostert with a big run on a play opened up by Aaron Brewer and Robert Jones. It's going to be interesting to see where a guy like Robert Jones kind of slots in position-wise and where he ends up being on that depth chart. Obviously, these first, 3 training camp practices and a little bit today as well, there's been some issues with this team's offensive line. They're going to end up lining these guys up in different combinations, different positions. They're going to have to see what works, because if something doesn't work after maybe a few practices, some joint practices, a preseason game or two, that's when you're going to see, okay, what free agents are still available, or do we need to pick up the phone and start making some calls for some of these guys as well? Jaylen Wright, there was a name to pay attention to today. Showed off his speed, bouncing a run out to the perimeter. Noted later in practice for another explosive run where he actually took a pitch and hit a hole with conviction. And this ends up being great news, because I was told leading up to this practice, the biggest issue that Jaylen Wright was having, it wasn't the speed, it wasn't the agility, it wasn't anything like that. It was running with that conviction. He's been a little bit too hesitant in this zone blocking scheme. So he needs to continue to get those reps, make plays like he did today, because he ended up being noted for 2 more impressive runs where he put that agility on display. By all accounts, sounds like it was his best day of camp. Chris Brooks ended up adding a 6-yard touchdown run as well to wrap up the running backs. For the wide receivers, veteran rest day for Tyreek Hill. We actually have a video here of Tua to Jaylen Waddle, and what appears to be a one-on-one drill. I think it might end up being against Jalen Ramsey as well. We'll get that one up on the screen. It's a really quick video, so look right now. It was against Ramsey. Here, we'll put it on repeat for you. One more time for good measure. There you have it. The nice thing about this one too, obviously, yeah, that's a very quick video and it's a one-on-one drill. By all accounts, what we're being told, what's being reported as well, Jaylen Waddle coming out of his breaks better, are even showing more speed this year, trying to catch the ball more with his hands than his body. If you remember, one of the qualms that we've had with Jaylen Waddle over the last few years, a little bit too much body catching has led to some drops. Sounds like he's really working this offseason and getting out of his breaks quicker, cleaner, faster, and then catching that ball with his hands. And I know Ramsey was on the wrong end of that one. One-on-ones are probably the hardest damn thing you can ask a cornerback to do in those drills. Sounds like Jalen Ramsey has been sticking to wide receivers like what Jalen Ramsey does, one of the top cornerbacks in the entire league. Rounding out the wide receivers here, Mike White ended up hitting Malik Washington, who's strung together a couple of good practices now during team drills. I should have added video of the backflip that Washington did pre-practice. It looks like maybe Tyreek Hill has got some competition now in that department. From the tight end room, good day for the tight ends by all accounts as well. Jonnu Smith actually took a handoff today. And no, it's not like he does that routinely, but he's actually done a little bit of that kind of stuff in the past as well during his days with the Tennessee Titans. So maybe kind of keep an eye on that kind of stuff, how we can get creative keeping these tight ends involved as well. We talked about Jonnu Smith being kind of one of those few tight ends that you trust with a tight end screen. There's not a lot of those guys in this league. Jonnu Smith is that guy, and now he's getting handoffs as well. Tanner Conner caught a wide open touchdown from Mike White during team drills. Solid camp for Conner right now by all accounts as well. Sounds like he had a one-handed catch in the back in the end zone from Tua today to end practice. Also sounds like he might have only got 1 foot down. Regardless, flashing that athleticism, that ability to be a playmaker in this offense. Jody Fortson also caught a touchdown from Mike White in red zone work. Let's shift over to the defensive side of the ball. Teair Tart credited with a sack that came when Skylar Thompson was at quarterback. That is great news for Teair Tart. However, it is terrible news for Jack Driscoll, who Travis Wingfield noted Teair Tart couldn't have gotten through faster had the rep been against air. That's some honesty right there, folks. That is the status right now of a potential guy that's in line for our starting right guard spot. So that's not great to hear from his account. Isaiah Mack ended up with an interception today, of all things, on a ball that Jaquan Burton probably should have had. Sounds like it came off his hands, popped in the air. Mack stayed active with the play, ended up coming down with the interception. Linebacker-wise, David Long is officially off the PUP list, made his training camp practice debut today, noted for looking like his usual self out there. By all accounts, it seems like the idea of putting him on the PUP early was playing it safe with some of those soft tissue issues that he's had previous years with the Tennessee Titans as well. So got to play it safe with some of these guys. Another productive day from our first round draft pick in Chop Robinson, credited with a sack after beating Lester Cotton. And then he also credited for a nice setting of the edge that allowed Duke Riley to fill in and get a run stop at the line of scrimmage as well. And why I note something like that is kind of what we've talked about, and I'm sure you're aware of as well. Edge rushers, when they're that young, and really Chop Robinson was always seen as just like this dynamic pass rusher. Well, in order to get on the field early, and in order to be more of that 3-down type of edge rusher, and by early, I mean early in his career, you got to be able to play against the run. You got to be able to set the edge as well. So it's obviously nice to hear him having some success with that, setting up others on the defense. Another edge rusher, though, that we've gotten used to hearing his name a lot during training camp, Grayson Murphy. How about this guy? Blew up a run play and forced a fumble on that same play in a quarterback running back exchange between Mike White and Jaylen Wright. He also recovered the fumble on that play. So a huge play from Murphy right away. Travis Wingfield noted a nice play from Murphy so far in each of the training camp practices. And we talked about the importance of this because Jalen Phillips needs a little bit of extra time. And if Bradley Chubb's going to miss some weeks to begin the season, it makes it, yeah, we want those guys back, but it makes it a little bit more tolerable to say, hey, we've got some guys that have proven that have been able to step up and step into those roles and not really face the idea of we need to bring this guy back and maybe we rush him back a week or two too early. So obviously nice that he's showing up here. Also added a sack later in practice. So overall solid day for Murphy. And we talked about it this offseason during OTAs and minicamp. Of all the undrafted free agents this team signed this year, look for Murphy to be probably the one that has the best odds of sticking on that 53-man roster. Finishing up the linebackers and edge here, Jordan Brooks credited with a tackle for loss on Raheem Mostert's run. We'll wrap things up with the secondary. Javon Holland came down with a tipped interception from Tua. It sounds like Zach Sealer got his hand up on the ball. Javon Holland, right place, right time. We've seen Sealer do that kind of stuff in the past. And yeah, we've seen Holland be that kind of that ball hawk, that guy that just has those instincts of where to be. Holland also had a pass breakup on a deep ball to Devon Achane, where I think that might wrap up the videos that we had today. Make sure I can find the right one here for you. All right, here we go. Tua here operating under shotgun. Here's it out. Great placement there. I mean, it wasn't even that bad of a ball. The thing is, Javon Holland just ended up being, like I said, right place, right time, had the instincts, got that hand in there last second, broke that one up. Elijah Campbell broke up Tua's first attempt in team drills on a deep shot to Waddle, maybe trying to go back-to-back days with Tua at practice, trying to score right away, obviously back on, my math is right, would have been Friday? Yes, Friday, with the 70-yard touchdown to Tyreek to start practice. And then wrapping things up, Kendall Fuller and Jalen Ramsey credited with pass breakups on passes from Tua to Waddle as well. As I've talked about a little bit in the past as well, these cornerback wide receiver battles that this team is going to have during these training camp practices, man, that might end up being, talk about something to get you ready for the regular season. They may end up being more competitive than some of those battles you'll see in the regular season. And I get the game takes on a different energy. It's another animal on Sundays when you're strapping it up and playing. But regardless, in regards to straight up talent at those positions, what tandem or duo, whatever you want to call it, of wide receivers is Kendall Fuller and Jalen Ramsey that's going to play that scares them more than Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle? And you can basically say that vice versa as well. I know the Jets got some good cornerbacks as well, but this is great competition. This is great practice for when those times come. I lied. I got one more nugget. Cam Smith left practice early, walking with a little bit of a limp to the locker room. Don't have any more updates on that. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep you posted as we learn more. Dolphins fans, we will wrap it up there for today. Like I said, we will be back tomorrow. I actually believe tomorrow is the first day when pads come on. So we'll see how the trenches end up faring during one of those practices as well. Thanks as always for tuning in. Like I said, drop your thoughts in the comments. Get subscribed if you have not done so already. But until next time, Dolphins fans, Fins